Imagine waking up to find that someone you once trusted has not only blocked you but told the world you're too toxic to handle. That's exactly the kind of chaos that unfolded between Teyana Taylor and Aaron Pierre. If you think celebrity breakups can't get more messy or more public, wait until you hear every twist of this story, because it feels almost unreal how quickly everything escalated. Their relationship was never supposed to be this complicated. People remember when Teyana and Aaron first started showing up in the same circles. It was subtle at first. A shared smile backstage at an awards show, a photo that caught them laughing together, an anonymous tip that said they were closer than friends. Everyone assumed it was just harmless flirtation. Teyana had been through her fair share of drama with Iman Shumpert, and fans were actually excited to see her smiling again. Nobody thought much of it until the sightings became more frequent, and the little clues started adding up. There was a night when someone snapped a picture of them having dinner at a low-key Italian restaurant in New York. It looked innocent, but the way Aaron leaned in when Teyana spoke, the way she touched his arm when she laughed, it made people start wondering, was this something real? Or just another Hollywood fling? The internet thrives on speculation, and this was the perfect recipe. A high-profile woman fresh out of a rocky marriage, an actor on the rise, and just enough secrecy to keep everyone guessing. For a while they denied everything. Teyana brushed off the rumors, saying people were determined to twist her every move into a headline. Aaron said they were working on a project together, but the project never materialized, and they never fully explained what it was. It was almost as if they thought ignoring the whispers would make them fade away. But in reality, that silence only made the curiosity stronger. Even then, nobody could have predicted how badly things would unravel. Behind the scenes, there were already cracks forming that most people couldn't see. Friends close to Aaron said he'd been venting about the pressure. He felt like Teyana was always checking in, always needing reassurance, always demanding he prove she was a priority. To her, maybe it just felt like caring. But to him, it started to feel like a kind of emotional quicksand. No matter what he did, it wasn't enough. The first real sign that their connection was turning toxic came during one of Aaron's late-night shoots. According to someone on the set, Teyana called him repeatedly, frustrated that he hadn't texted her back between takes. When he finally answered, his voice was tense, and the conversation ended with him rubbing his forehead like he was trying to hold back an explosion. Nobody knew exactly what she said, but people could feel the energy shift. He looked exhausted, as if he was carrying a weight that he couldn't set down. Still, they tried to hold it together, at least in public. For months, they kept up appearances, sharing inside jokes, appearing at private events, never officially confirming they were together but never really denying it either. But then came the X-Files, the leaked messages that changed everything overnight. Those screenshots showed conversations nobody ever expected to see. Teyana allegedly telling Aaron she couldn't keep a pregnancy. The words were raw and final, and the internet lost its mind. For days, it felt like no other story existed. Everyone had an opinion about whether the texts were real, whether she owed anyone an explanation, whether Aaron was the victim or the villain. And all that noise only made things between them more tense. Teyana tried to reach out to Aaron, or at least that's what insiders said. She was reportedly desperate to explain herself, to apologize for the chaos, to salvage what was left of whatever they'd been. But Aaron wasn't answering. Some people said he was too humiliated by how public everything had become. Others claimed he was angry that she'd even tried to spin the narrative in her favor when she knew the truth. Whatever the reason, he kept his distance, and Teyana started to feel like she was shouting into a void. Then came the moment that would turn their private fallout into a public spectacle. A moment that nobody expected, even in a world where celebrity drama feels like a never-ending circus. According to several sources, Teyana tried one last time to meet Aaron face to face. She showed up at a place he was staying, a mutual friend's house. People said they could hear raised voices, that she was pleading with him to just talk, to listen, and that he finally snapped. He told her plain and simple that this was too toxic. He couldn't do it anymore, and that he was done. The next morning, Teyana posted a story that said, Nothing hurts more than being cut off with no explanation. No names, no specifics, but everyone knew exactly who she was talking about. Within an hour, screenshots started circulating showing Aaron's phone settings. There, in plain view, was her contact, and next to her name was the unmistakable word, blocked. That single image exploded across social media. It wasn't just that he'd blocked her. It was the implication that he was willing to burn the last bridge between them rather than have another conversation. Fans were stunned. Some said it was proof that he was finally standing up for himself. Others called it cowardly, an immature way to end something that had once been meaningful. But no matter which side you were on, it was impossible to look away. In the days that followed, the internet turned into a battleground. People argued over whether Aaron had done the right thing. Some said Teyana had crossed too many lines, and blocking her was the only way he could protect his peace. Others insisted she was hurting and needed compassion, not punishment. It was like everyone projected their own experiences onto their story, turning it into a collective therapy session disguised as gossip. Teyana's reaction behind the scenes was a mix of heartbreak and rage. She told close friends she felt humiliated, that he'd abandoned her when she needed him most. Some said she spent nights crying, replaying old memories, trying to figure out when everything had gone wrong. She posted cryptic quotes about trust and betrayal, about how sometimes love isn't enough to save you from yourself. Meanwhile, Aaron kept his distance. He wasn't posting much, but when he did, it was almost as if he wanted the world to know he was unbothered. Pictures of sunsets, gym selfies, random jokes with friends. If he was hurting, he was determined not to let it show. But people close to him said the truth was more complicated. That he'd spent months feeling trapped, like he couldn't breathe without someone questioning his every move. And that blocking her wasn't a victory, it was survival. For every person who celebrated his decision, there was someone else accusing him of ghosting her. The debate turned ugly. People who'd never met either of them felt entitled to dissect every detail, to speculate about every motive. It didn't matter that the only two people who really knew the truth were the ones no longer speaking. In the eyes of the internet, their silence was just another reason to keep talking. The story became something bigger than them. It was a symbol of how quickly love can turn into resentment, how fame magnifies every flaw, how the line between caring and controlling can blur until you don't recognize yourself anymore, and how sometimes, no matter how much you want to fix things, the only way forward is to walk away. When you strip away all the drama, you're left with two people who once shared something real, who laughed together, planned together, trusted each other enough to be vulnerable, and who, in the end, couldn't survive the pressure of everyone watching, everyone judging. That's the part nobody wants to talk about, the quiet tragedy underneath all the noise. Some fans still believe they'll reconcile someday. They point to old videos where you could see how much they cared. They share clips of Teyana smiling up at Aaron like he was the only person in the room. But others say there's no coming back from a betrayal that public. No repairing a bond that was already fraying long before the block button ended it for good. In the weeks since the fallout, Teyana has tried to focus on her work. She's been in the studio, pouring her pain into new music. She's made a few public appearances, but insiders say she's different now. Quieter, more guarded, less interested in sharing her heart with a world that seems determined to break it. Aaron has been keeping things shockingly low-key lately. While the world waits for him to break his silence, all we get are a handful of industry events and a couple of carefully curated interviews, the kind that tiptoe around any mention of Teyana like it's some forbidden word. It's almost like he's pretending none of it ever happened, like the whole thing is a bad dream he can wake up from. But if you look closely, the cracks are impossible to ignore. The forced smiles that don't quite reach his eyes. The way his voice falters ever so slightly when the topic of love comes up. The way his fingers twitch like he wants to say so much more but is holding back a tidal wave of emotions. And maybe that's exactly what makes their story so damn compelling. It's not just a celebrity breakup or some juicy gossip to scroll past. It's the slow-motion unraveling of two people who once believed in forever but ended up as strangers. It's about the raw, messy truth behind the Instagram posts, the hope that turned into fear, the passion that cracked under the weight of reality. It's the ache of wanting to be loved and understood, but not knowing how to hold on without losing yourself in the process. No one walks away from this clean or unscathed. Not Teyana, who's left clutching 1,000 questions with no answers in sight. Not Aaron, who made the gut-wrenching choice to step away, to save what little of himself remained. And certainly not the fans, desperate for closure but only getting endless speculation, rumors, and half-truths. What remains is a ghost of what once was. An empty space where love used to live, now filled with silence and whats. So next time you catch a headline about someone blocking their ex, or some cryptic social media post, remember there's a whole story beneath the surface. A story of heartbreak, of protection, and sometimes of painful letting go. Because sometimes the hardest part isn't the end. It's moving forward while the world still watches, wondering what really happened behind closed doors. And sometimes the only way to heal is to let go, even if the world never understands why. What do you think? Was Aaron justified in blocking Teyana, or did he owe her one final conversation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about the complicated, messy side of love in the spotlight.